Hi guys, my name's Seb Tudor, I'm the man on the Silver Mountain and welcome back. Now today I want to talk about long distance relationships because this is something that I've been in more often than I've been in kind of close relationships and including my current relationship, which is the most fulfilling I've ever had. And as a result, I wanted to talk to you guys about it because it's something that I've had people ask me questions about. But also on top of it, it's something that stands out as a thing that's happening more and more regularly at the moment, considering that people are having to travel more for work, for life, for meeting at university and then traveling to different places that they call home. Meeting people online from the other side of the planet, meeting people through travel and then disappearing into different parts of the world. There are so many different ways for us to connect with each other now that where connection happens, then relationships are going to happen shortly afterwards to one degree or another, especially romantic ones, depending on the minutiae of the situation. And there was a study that was done a while ago by researchers at Queen's University. Yes, university, in the States. And they did a study on both long distance couples and geographically close couples. Now, some of the numbers are a bit small because it's like they did 474 females and 243 males in long distance relationships, as well to contrast against 314 females to 111 males that lived in near, close relationships. But so the numbers are a bit odd, but the findings are maybe not hard to guess at. Where they found that actually there was no real substantially huge difference in the quality of the relationship between either type of couple. But they actually found that whilst the overall quality wasn't all that different, in the long-term relationships, they found that people had generally a higher level of satisfaction, intimacy, and communication with their partner than in geographically close couples, or those that have been consistently geographically close. And so, there are a few things that stand out to me about this. Firstly, it's not that surprising because you would need to have a much more reasonable expectation, and you would have to have a much greater level of communication and things like trust to enable and facilitate a long distance relationship, whether it's an hour or so, like just that little bit too far, inconvenient kind of time period that Hannah and I are at, or as with relationships I've had in the past where it's been much, much further away. Crossing large distances across the world, even. It kind of stands out as, yes, you need that level of communication, you need that level of kind of appreciation for one another, interest. But the thing is, they don't always make relationships work by themselves, and also on top of that, it's potentially quite hard to develop those things in the first place without a little bit of insight into what you need. And so, as a result, I wanted to bring these things to you guys and just kind of talk you through some various ideas that have come out of both my experience, both now and in the past, as well as some various other bits and pieces that I've pulled out information-wise from elsewhere. So the first thing that stands out to me is all about expectations, because the only reason that we ever get disappointed or that we aren't satisfied and whatever else is because our expectations aren't met. And so when you're starting out in a long distance relationship, the first thing to get concrete is the expectations of the relationship. Yeah? You can't expect people to drop their entire lives and run to you whenever you want them, but also at the same time you shouldn't be ignored. Yeah? There needs to be this middle ground achieved between the two of you, which often comes down to actually just having a conversation about it, just a straightforward one. Yeah? How will you always be in touch with each other? How will you be able to continually communicate and develop that relationship? When will you be able to see each other? How will you make efforts to see each other? What are the boundaries on that? Because obviously I have my life and you have yours. So where are the boundaries between the two of us whilst we're so far apart and we can't continually be kind of pillars in each other's lives? And how we're going to react differently to to being far apart, especially when the negativity negativity sets in. And so it's going to be a case of like, I'm going to feel lonely and separated, and I'm not going to want any I may very well want attention and stuff like that, or contact with you, but I may very well get very quiet in and of myself because it's me processing the negativity and dispelling it, whilst someone else may be very much more clingy and needy and instantly wanting gratification for it, so that they don't, so that they offset those negative feelings that they're having in their head, and whatever else beforehand. And so as a result, setting down that expectation of how people react, how, having that conversation and understanding each other around those areas and where those boundaries need to be, that's an important thing to discuss. When Hannah and I first got together, there was a conversation which basically started out around, well, we both like each other, so let's do this and see how it goes. And that gave us a really solid base to then keep going, and now here we still are, as it were. But then the next thing to take a look at is there needs to be a strong distinction in your mind between the different types of closeness and intimacy, because obviously you've got trust and you've got kind of emotional intimacy and kind of mental intimacy, where you're connecting and communicating on the same level and with the same things and ideas and goals and stuff like that. But obviously physical intimacy, especially in a long-term relationship, long-distance relationship, is the thing that's missing. And so finding ways to make the most of the others to offset that until such time as you can actually be together, that's again part of the conversation to be having, and using opportunities for gratitude, generosity, for compliments as well, so that the physical isn't being ignored, even though the interactions are all emotional and mental and kind of around those areas. Again, the things to take into account is the recognition and appreciation of these things at all times, not necessarily the being able to act on all of those things at all times, which again is where boundaries, expectations and things like that kind of settle in as to what you can and can't deal with. And then the next thing is that even though it's miserable being away from the person that you care about, it's that being able to appreciate and celebrate everything. Taking a moment to recognize the positive, bring in the positive emotions, and reinforce what you love, what you like about that person, and they should be doing the same. So it's like, accepting surprises as something that's nice. Random selfies from what they're doing for the day, or messages just saying that they love you, or whatever else. Those things. Random jokes and daft memes and all kinds of other things that they can send you. Again, technology being the saviour of the long distance relationship, and one of the reasons why they are becoming more and more regular occurrences. All of those things should be the things that you focus on, to bring out that positive, to remind you of why you're why you've put yourself in this situation where you care for someone and allow yourself to care for someone and become invested in someone when they're so far away. The next thing is probably one of the hardest parts, though, and that is that after you've got this groundwork, after you've got all this solid stuff, then the thing that stands out is making sure that you trust. And it can be very hard. Like I can speak from experience that because lives are separated, it can at times be very, very hard to maintain trust. But the thing is, it's about being objective, and if a partner is giving you a reason to distrust them, then it's about discussing it. Why was it that they did that? Obviously, if someone's just straight up cheated on you, then I've already discussed this in other videos, and it depends on kind of your personal appreciation of that as a whether it's a cardinal sin or whether there's something to be worked around or whatever else. But for instance, just lying to you because they didn't want to fully explain what they were doing in case it hurt your feelings, when actually now they've guaranteed your feelings being hurt because you've found out. Yeah, lies will, especially when there's so much communication, or at least there should be so much communication between people. Lies don't tend to hold up. Lies don't tend to hold up at the best of times anyway, but especially in these situations, just don't lie. Just take the moment to explain. You being transparent is going to reinforce the trust that your partner has in you, and will allow for much greater freedom between the two of you, and much greater appreciation when you include one another and when you come together to work through things and discuss things and so on and so forth, rather than not telling people things, being vague, getting caught up in the web of lies that eventually ends up kind of catching you rather than anything else. It's about trust. And in regards to the person who's having to do the trusting as well, as there's usually always one person that's off doing something and then the other person is trusting, and then vice versa at a different point. It's a back and forth. So that's to the person who wants to be trusted, but to the person who's doing the trusting, unless you have something concrete, it doesn't matter how you feel inside, unless there is a reason for you to question, then have faith in the partner that you've chosen for yourself. You have trust yourself, because you are the one that's made the decision to be with that person. You can't always have your little insecurities that will eat at you at times, especially when there is that great distance between you. Don't let that eat away at you. Yeah, because all that is yourself questioning your own choices. Wait for your partner to show that either they can't be trusted or prove you wrong in the choices that you've made. Don't start imposing your own worries on them, because that will only then become more of a self-fulfilling prophecy. And especially over great distances, it can be very hard to do, as I said. But it's making sure that you've got that presence of mind and that care for your other half that allows that to kind of progress and roll through. And then the last couple of things that I'd say is, in addition to the communication that I've already said is very important, availability is the other thing that's important, because you can communicate a lot but then still not be available to someone. Yeah, when they want time with you, give it when you can. When they want your attention, on both sides, give it when you can. If they're talking to you about a thing, take part in the conversation. Don't just sit there and let it roll over you. Yeah, pay attention, be active in your listening, appreciate what's being said, because then you can expect the same back. Yeah, it's about giving away your time, giving away your attention to that person that you have deemed worthwhile. So, do that. Give up your time. If you make a plan, stick with that plan. Yeah, it's very important to maintain that consistency, because otherwise that kind of the consistent attitude not being there and the follow through on it not being there is only going to kind of land you in this empty space where there's nothing holding the two of you together when you want to make a plan and then it has to be cancelled because whatever reason, it might not even be a good reason, but it's just happened. That's where rifts start to form. That's where problems start to develop. And otherwise things could work perfectly between you if it had just been for a little bit more consistency in the relationship and more steadfast kind of connection when it came to doing things together, even if those things are limited to like just a phone call, saying goodnight to each other every night. You know, if it becomes as much of a ritual as a habit, you know, wanting to say goodnight to someone every evening, wanting to make sure that they're okay after they've finished work, wishing them a good day first thing in the morning. You know, those little things that then can lead on to further communication, further development. You know, those are the important little things that hold the rest of the big things together. So those are my thoughts around this. As said, you know, for the most part, people in long distance relationships seem to be able to develop them very solidly, so that their levels of overall satisfaction and so on are very high, even if the overall quality maybe doesn't differ all that much from a normal kind of always close relationship, which again you wouldn't necessarily expect there to be that much differentiation between the two of them in the overall, because even once they've got together and the distance has been removed, then the quality of the relationship is still going to be that happy relationship that they've been focused on all the time, even if they're in the individual traits of trust, of communication are higher. They're still both parties, both the close together all the time couple and the long distance couple, they're all, well, both of them are working towards the same overall goal, which is just being together with a person that they love. So, but anyway, as I said, it's becoming a more prevalent thing. I'd love to hear your experiences. Are there any other things that you would suggest to people to make long distance relationships work? You know, I'd love to hear those and have you guys add to what I've been saying to one degree or another. But otherwise, guys, I hope you found this interesting, and I will see you in the video tomorrow. Take care. Thank you very much for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video or found it interesting, then please drop us a like, share this video, and subscribe for more. And I'll see you in the video tomorrow. Take care.